Let me tell you, being a member of a professional body, especially in our beauty industry, it gives you a lot of opportunities, a lot of advantages because you get to know so much than just someone who says they're beauty therapists and they just run, a salon at the corner.
You got me looking at my watch every minute. Yeah, because I'm waiting on you. I said I'm waiting on you. Make a move. I'm waiting on you, yeah. 7 o'clock in the morning.
Hi, Skin Buddies. My name is Gugu from The Blend Wellness. Welcome to another episode where I share a recap of the conference I recently attended, hosted by SAAHSP, South African Association of Health and Skincare Professionals in South Africa. And this was an amazing and informative, insightful event, which was 2 days. And I'm just here to share with you all of the stuff we were talking about from skills development, QCTO news that there's been deregistered qualifications amounting to 791, which still need new registration to replace them. There's also been some great global trends, great industry trends. AI is obviously a topic that we can never say no to. And we were talking about policies, benchmarking standards, and all these very important things, especially as a beauty therapist in this industry, whether you're a student or already working in a company as an employee. These are very important things that you need to take note of. For example, 2023 graduates actually got their free membership as SASP members. So if you're a beauty therapist who graduated last year, you can stand yourself a chance. Actually, you don't win. You actually have the membership. All you need to do is send your qualification on their emails and just ask for it. So let me tell you, being a member of a professional body, especially in our beauty industry, it gives you a lot of opportunities, a lot of advantages because you get to know so much than just someone who says they're beauty therapists and they just run, a salon at the corner. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying this industry has a lot of inclusivity and there's a lot of things like opportunities that you don't know of just because you are not going to the right places. So I'm just hoping this video reaches out to as many beauty therapists as possible because I am an advocate for education and I love being an educational facilitator. I am an innovator. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a business in Mall of Tembisa. I've been here for 3 years. I'm a business owner and I have about 3 employees. I am also an innovator. I innovated a caravan into a spa van concept during COVID, and that was a great but also challenging thing. And right now, I just launched an educational resources hub for beauty therapists in South Africa, simplifying the traditional studies and textbook of things in beauty schools. This is a fast paced industry, so we need to grasp concepts very quickly. And by saying that, I want to help as much as I can. But if I'm not enabled, then it becomes very hard. So there's a difference between just being that young person who is entitled and someone who's really trying to share their innovative approach of things, but want to be enabled in the industry. So I want to be your enabler. I also want to be enabled as well. I don't know if that makes sense. But without any further waste of time, I did take videos. Of course, I did take videos. I took pictures and I have a lot of notes to share. So I hope your attention span for this is very, longer, so that you with me until the end of this video, okay? So literally I'm hosting an online conference right now where I'm sharing the insights and recapping on everything that happened. And of course, I'll be sharing the singing. That lady has such a beautiful voice, and her voice is so anointed. When she started singing, everyone was crying. So of course, I took a video of that moment. So just bear with me, be in this video, and watch it till the end. I would really appreciate it. So my YouTube video is not doing that great. I really hope that you are a +1 subscriber so that I get to at least 500 subscribers. Promise? Okay.
Thank you very, very much. Wow. It's going to be a bit of a tough act to follow the ladies that spoke before me. I know I can't compare on looks, but I can tell you, I always tell my friends back home that, listen guys, who of you spoke at a beauty conference? So, amongst the guy friends, it's sort of a thing, you can imagine. Anyway, thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you to the previous speakers. Thank you for your beautiful address this morning. Thank you for the invite. SAAHSP President Feroza, where are you? Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the work we do in ecosystems in the skills development and related areas of our economy in this day and age. So when we are talking about a skills development ecosystem, go to the next one. What we are really talking about an ecosystem is that for too long things. So let's move on to the next one. So when we're talking about the human capital system, we are talking about an ecosystem that is informed by strategy. It is driven by the identification of roles. If we have a vision and a mission, it's easy to set and translate a vision and mission into objectives. From objectives, we can start designing key performance indicators. From key performance indicators, we get where's all possible, ladies and gentlemen. So, more examples of standards then. As I said, policies and procedures. They present ways of doing things. Now, when we're talking about standards, it's actually such a simple thing. You take that chair, for example, standing over there. The standard of a chair is that it has 4 legs, right? But there are variations. You can get one with a pipe that's bent, you can get some with 3 legs, and so forth. But when you want to build a chair, if you have to Google how to build a chair, the first thing that you would see is that it should probably have 4 legs. Typically. There are exceptions. But the norm, the standard, is 4 legs. If I want to book for a massage, there is an entire set of standards to which that can be measured, right? If I want to go for a facial, there's a set of standards. If I want to go for a foot massage or a mani or a pedi, there's a way of doing it. It's a standard. Where did that come from? Did it just fall out of the sky? People like you evolved that as a standard over years, and it grew and it developed into what it is today. And today, that becomes a key performance indicator.
Because there are lots of people doing that, and they keep on asking, what are we going to do about it? As a professional body, we want to make sure that we can bring this up to you so that those people can be recognized as people who are not accredited, they're not registered with the NQF levels, they're operating maybe internationally, but they have no recollection of anybody checking them out here in South Africa.
Thank you. I think that's a question that everybody always asks. And the point is that what we need to look at, SAAHSP started already working on a policy on how to look at misrepresented qualifications, as well as institutions not offering accredited qualifications. But as said that it was proclaimed in October 2023, and now we need to finalize our policy. We couldn't finalize unless the act is there. So the policy will go out for public discussion. The biggest challenge that we do sit with is to say, if, for example, SAAHSP identified a provider, reporting that provider to SAAHSP is who's going to do that investigation. So that is something that we work with the Department of Higher Education to say, how can we look at that? Of course, we also actually need to work with SAAHSP because they need to actually do, and then we need to work with the Department of Justice that if there is a court case, there needs to be that judgment also there. So that is a challenge really to say, but point is that if you really report a provider, you need to make sure that your facts are correct. Because if it's found that no, they may provide, then they may take you also to court. So we need to be careful about how we do that. Otherwise we may sit with additional other problems.
I just think it's for people who get these qualifications and they cannot get jobs. And they come with those certificates and there's no accreditation. That's where we have.
I think it's just for people who have certificates that have got no credibility, and that's why I'm asking that particular question.
The point taken, I think that you mentioned, you can remember that I mentioned, informed the public about the NPF, and that is something that we really started last year to go out and arrange workshops, roadshows, and that what we want to do is to make more of that. And I think that professional bodies may also play a role there to go out and tell employers, learners about the whole system that they know about it. Yes.
Thank you. So, Yapi, and to the Education Department, I really do take my hat off for you to actually write these big headlines saying, beware of bogus people. But I have a statement to make, okay? As a training provider, we tried to get registered with the Department of Education in 2017. Submitted all the documentation, went through all the processes and procedures, and received a letter saying, thank you very much for all your documents. We will go into the whole process and procedure. And we heard nothing, okay? Until we started having reviews from various different organizations. We had sent letters to the department, we'd sent further letters, and I was just saying to my colleagues here next door, was that it happened on Thursday. I had sent letters to the QCTO asking this specific question in 2020. and a gentleman deleted all 5 emails which were unread, and I have proof of that. So, if we as providers are we are doing what we're supposed to do, but the system is letting us down. Is that not a double-edged sword for the providers who are working hard, fulfill the criteria? In last year, when we were duly having our professional body assessment, questions were asked. And I again went back to the Department of Education and said, why haven't you come back to me? Please give me some proof. I got a response, and I got a government gazette which was dated 2020. Okay? Where skills development providers do not have to be registered with the Department of Education. However, the statements that were put in the newspaper didn't write that. And in the past, the Department of Education had a list of training providers, which I, thank goodness, stored on my laptop, which were training providers that had applied for politicians or applied for registration, and then the registered providers. So I can imagine how the providers who are trying to do the right thing feel confused, feel let down by the system, but also what happens is that we are let down, but also when the students are going to go and have a look for the qualifications, they're asking the question, we have to say, yeah, but we don't have to be. We have to quickly send off a gazette because of these publications. What do we do? What do we do? We thank goodness we got beautiful letters from the services CETA, so we can submit that to them. But what do we do as training providers? Because we have been let down. Well, that's our outlook.
Thank you. I think that Dr. Shirley would also like to answer before I answer.
Thank you very much. That was the point I was going to make. I'm guilty, in a way, of the one thing. There were 2 communiques, joint communique 1 of 2012, when the NQF Act came in place, which said every provider that is accredited by CHE or Umalusi has to be registered with a state, and the state at that stage being DHET. The constitution of the country says all providers must be registered with the state. So at that stage, QCTO was being established, as we know, took a long time. Then, legally, I was working in the DHET. I was the director of the NQF. Horrible job. Nobody wants that job. Everyone fights with you and hates you, and you get a reputation. Lobby, if SAAHSP has a reputation, so did I. So you deal with these things. Legally, we were told, and it came about because of the Immigration Act that changed, to say no foreign students can come into the country and study unless they go to a registered institution. All the institutions offering QCTO qualifications were not registered with DHET. So in DHET, we then drew up, together with SAAHSP and the 3 QCs and RDG, Joint Communique 1 of 2016, which said everybody now has to be registered, and there was a time frame in which they had to be registered. I won't go into all the reasons why that was repealed. So at the moment, the status is, if you offer OQSF qualifications, even if you function level 5 upwards, you do not have to be registered with the state. And that message has to go out, because what you're facing is bogus college accusations, parents and learners wanting to take you to court, all of that, and that's not fair. So, I bear the scars of all of those.
Thank you very much. No, I think also to answer that, I know that you have to be registered as a skills development provider under the FET Act. And skills development providers within OPSF space slightly different. If you look at the proclamation also from the minister, there was a statement that all skills development providers must be registered. And that was taken out for now. Because they need to look at what is the impact of offering qualifications by skills development providers, registration with DHEAD. So that may take a little bit of time, but I agree that we should actually go out and communicate more around it. Ish.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I know according to that, you have to be registered with DHEAD. And if you're not registered with DHEAD, then you have to pay back on your college fees.
About that insurance.
Anybody want to add to that?
I can help you with that as well.
Because that hurts. Everybody else who's registered with DHEAD is allowed to not pay that on their
There's a hand there at the back.
I hope somebody can. Yes. With DHEAD. Correct. But if we don't have to be registered with DHEAD, and we cannot even get it through because there's issues there, and then we're sitting with 15% of the top. Anyway, that's just the financial conversation. Anybody next?
Thank you, unfortunately. Can I just quickly, I need to wrap up. I mentioned earlier also that SAAHSP is reviewing the professional body space and EKF space, because we need to make sure what do we mean. And Dr. Shirley mentioned that we've got academic, we've got vocational, we've got occupational within schools. If you look at higher education, they've got academic, vocational, professional. You look at QCTO, trade, occupation, profession. And we need to make sure that everybody understands what do we mean by occupations versus professions. Because that may have an issue on professional bodies actually. So that are you a professional body for professions or a professional body for occupations? And then also designations. What we keep on telling people is please look at the competency framework. Because that will identify what the learner must come in. And I think that is already part of that. So what do they need at the bottom and how can they progress to higher levels? And then colleagues said, I know that the beauty qualification has been registered. It is on the system. There are 9 part qualifications as part of that qualification. Code. The IDs, I'll just check if the IDs are already out there.
So, thank God about the beauty qualification that's been registered. We're very happy. So, stomatologists like to upskill. And when you spoke about competency level, if you do short courses to get to, aesthetics, how does that, go for an individual? Because you spoke of when you get to a certain level, you need to probably be qualified and be more knowledgeable, So in terms of competency, how does it go? Do you just get a pile of short certificates and a stomatology diploma, or is there some of, I don't know if my question makes sense.
If you look at the qualifications, I know that within QCTO, looking at skills programs also. And as I mentioned earlier, SAAHSP is looking at micro-credentialing. So how can we recognize this type of learning? And what I understand is a person already qualified in one area, and now that person needs to get up to a different level. So that up to a different level, so how is it identified with new competency framework? And what type of learning do I get? And that may be CPD, or it may be standalone courses in specific areas. But how can we look at that? Let me give you an example of what we look at, for example, in higher education, is that they do have accredited programs. And those qualifications are registered under NQA. So part of the micro-credentialing may be to say, let's unbundle that accredited qualification and make modules available for short learning. So in that short learning is that you may allow a learner without the entry requirement for the full qualification to do the modules. So that when the learner completed that module, they may present that learning as part of RBL into the qualification. They completed some of those. And then recognition for that learning to complete the full qualification. So in your case, if I understand correctly, is that I did complete something, but now I need to go up to a different level, and that learning, it depends on how they see that learning as skills programs, as different modules, or can we recognize it as micro-credentials. Thank you.
Thank you. So, can I just ask, I think I said to the table at the back there, I'm also hungry because I'm very hungry, so we need to make it quick now because I can smell the food from where I'm sitting. But I think I'm going to ask, I'm from the Western Cape, so I come from Stellenbosch or Malmesbury, and we normally cheer for the Stormers. Now I know that I'm not in Stormers country now, I think I'm in the Blue Bulls country, if I'm correct. And I always see on TV that you're very good with your Mexican wave. So can we quickly see if you are better than the Stormers in terms of your Mexican wave? So I will start, and then we're going to go over to you, and then we're going to take the tables like that, swing it across there, and then we're going to go to Inga and to Isabel, and we're going to come over, and Sandy, you're going to be the last one. So let's quickly see if we can do this together, so we're all awake to listen to the last 30 minutes. Okay, I'm going to start. Go on. Woo! No, that way. And then there, and then the table at the back, and over there. There we go, and a little bit closer. Woo! Thank you, everyone. Okay, I'm going to try and really keep it. We've got in our industry is the fact that it's not regulated. Do you agree with that? It's not regulated. Well, if you listened this morning to all the speakers, I think one thing we can be clear about, even though our industry at this stage we might feel is not regulated enough, there's one thing that is regulated, and that is our education system.
activities in the industry, or issues, because we have in the industry being affected where you get somebody who's starting a business, they're cutting all the prices short. People are just trading anyhow, anyway, under the tree. And with all the grading systems, is there a room for SAAHSP or other boards to come together and after that? So then we can, and let's talk. We love what you are doing. Your members are welcome. Bring them in so we can help them, and let's talk. Is there going to be room for grading skills development providers as well? Yes. For example, who specifically just concentrates, might not be in school, but just the SDP aspect. But that's what we want to do. We are grading, just like we're doing the product houses, and this is brilliant. And thank you, everybody. Thank you.
To time today, as we have delegates that need to catch flights. So my career paths in the industry, anyone can take this question, please. What are the potential career paths in the industry?
I think they are pretty clear. The obvious one is as therapists. Obviously there's hairdressing, there's educators. I know every therapist wants to become an educator until they realize how much work it actually is. And then there's salespeople. I think there are opportunities in the industry. It's just that we're going to start youngsters to see that the career path is available, inspire them and train them. So all our businesses can grow. And I think we're all having the staff challenge. I might have more to say about that a bit later.
So I think what I would like to share, and something I feel very passionate about the wellness industry. Currently the wellness industry I think is valued at $4.6 trillion, which is incredible, and it's still growing every year. Where the personal and beauty care is I think at 1.6 billion. And I don't have to talk stats. What I'm trying to get at is that we really need to encourage our therapists that wellness is what we're all about. So we are that first step in the wellness industry. Our hands-on healing and touch, and how are we empowering our girls from a curriculum point of view to deal with wellness and mindfulness and intent. Like how are we tapping into that? Because inevitably, if you have chosen to be a therapist, you have chosen to be a hands-on healer, that's the magic that they've chosen to be of gift of service. That's the very first step according to me. And I feel like we should create more of an environment where the foundation, when they start studying, should be on how we empower them into mindfulness and understanding their body fundamentally before they actually start giving of themselves to other guests, and that energy exchange starts happening. So maybe just, to make them aware of that when you start building eventually on other therapy, whether it's going to spas or whether it's going to hairdressers or nails, but I think just to feeding into them and the magic that they have to be of service.
And then Najma, specifically, I want to ask you and start this question is, how can product houses contribute to professional development?
So I guess we play a vital role in that space, because after college, we are the next that they're in touch with. So I think first and foremost, we need the vetting process. Who's going to use your brand, the clinic, the therapist, etc. And that would differ from product house to product house, depending on what you offer. And then education and product training, I think, is vital. I'm very big on education. As we all spoke of the past 2 days, education is key. So making sure or ensuring that the therapist understands the functioning of the skin, because you're working on the skin, and like Mrs. Swanepoel mentioned yesterday, it's no longer working on the epidermis or the stratum corneum, but we are affecting different layers of the skin. So product training with regards to ingredients and the effects that it has on the skin first and foremost, and then within your brand, your certification processes. That is, for example, we take our therapists through different certification processes, which then keeps the therapist in the loop of education continuously. And then attending workshops like these, or in-house workshops where you're doing sort of training, product training with your clinics, and then making sure, with regards to vetting processes, Firoza, I think I thought about this last night, and I think it's very important that us as brands make sure when we're doing our vetting processes, we align ourselves with SAAHSP, for example. So at that point, because once they leave the industry, not the industry, but once they leave college, we are the next in line. And I think from that perspective, I think if we can work together in keeping the education standards high, making sure that there's, keeping therapists in the loop of education continuously, and then mentoring programs as well for qualified therapists. Ensuring that there's excitement and there's a lot to learn within the industry. So that is how I think we're going to keep the core of the industry on high standards.
And I'll pose the next question. Stav, would you like to say something?
Can I just ask for a show of hands, how many salons are here? How many salon owners? There aren't that many. Okay. These kind of things when I get invited, I'm always trying to play both sides, and I don't want to offend anybody, but my starting point, I suppose in any business when you evaluate anything is what we currently doing working? And it's either yes or no. And if we look at our industry, we are not getting the staff that the average salon wants to be successful, to be profitable. Nobody can get staff. So whatever we're doing, either salon owners, as schools, or as product suppliers, it's just not working. We're just not getting the people. So at some stage, we're going to take a step back and say, well, how do we relook at this? What are the new opportunities that we could create? I can tell you what we started doing, and we're recommending this to a lot of our salons, is start training your own people. At least get them onto the first step, and then engage with the schools and engage with upskilling them and everything else is necessary. But we need to find a way to get people in the industry. And what we're doing as a company is we've got a chain of salons called Splash, and we have young girls that we employ, and they've come straight off the street. So we start off by giving them basic training on hair care, how to recommend products. The next thing we do is we try and find somebody that's showing promise, and we teach them how to blow dry hair, the very basic skill in hairdressing. Then from there we teach them to do treatments, to do straightening services. And I think we have to do this in hairdressing and the skincare industry. Unless we start putting people in from the sector of society that need jobs, that need an opportunity to start rising through the ranks of society, we're never going to get anywhere, guys. We're going to have talk shops forever, like we've done for the last, well, I've seen it for 30 years. So that's what we need. Start training your own people, finding your own people. Go to salons, and hairdressing is a bigger part of our business, but it's similar in skincare. And I say to them, get that one shampoo girl that's showing promise, that works, that is aggressive, that wants to learn, and then start upskilling her. Get her to a certain level, and that's where the schools need to jump in. And you need to say, right, if you've got somebody that's just learned how to do a basic facial or a basic massage or whatever, because whether we like it or not, salons are doing it. They're getting girls off the street and they're teaching them to massage the salon. The salons are teaching them to massage. So we've got to engage with that because the salons have got no choice. We are not getting enough people entering the industry to maintain successful businesses.
We have is it a question or comment? Can you use the mic?
Okay, so this is exactly what I was saying that is currently happening in the industry, where we are getting, like the spas I consult for. So I'm just going to tell you what I do under eHope as a spa consultancy. When a spa comes to consult with me and we do an evaluation check of how non-compliant they are, we start with the skills trainings. But last year, I managed to introduce about 4 or 5 spas, which I started with, to get regulated under SAAHSP. And 2 of those have already gotten their gold awards. But where we started from was when I did the spa consulting and realized the business is booming, most of the best therapists who actually do the proper skills work are not even qualified or trained. So when you then jump into saying, okay, I understand you're a business owner, but remember, from 135 spas that I have been consulting with, most of those are started by people who don't even know anything in the industry. right? So from trying to teach or to give information to an IT specialist who runs a successful business, probably in Sentinel, it's something that will start there, and then we get to the compliance check space. So that's why I was asking earlier, what we are doing, I've been a member of SAAHSP for quite some time. Is it really working or not? Because it looks like whatever we have meetings over is servicing a smaller portion of the actual industry. Yet majority of what the industry requires is something that needs people to actively get involved behind the therapist, behind the service provider, behind the business owner. What challenges are you facing? For example now, if you train a therapist and they are not from a beauty background, those are the most performing. Those are the most loyal employees spas can get. Because what? We have a crisis. Therapists who are trained have a tendency of jumping ship. Anytime, anyhow. SAAHSP is also not getting room to see how we can mitigate all that. These are problems that the industry is facing, affecting everyone. But all we are meeting and putting all our heads to, it's really not working. So maybe we need
changed a lot there with new occupational qualifications, is that there is a component where the therapists have to get workplace experience. And that is where I believe the real life learning education takes place, because they're working with clients and it's a salon situation. Where the challenge comes in is, what are going to be the criteria for those salons to register? A. B, are they going to be so draconian that people will say, oh well, I'm not even going to be involved anyway, which is bad for the training providers. So we need to, once again, have a balance. Let's try and get I used the word try. No. Let's get into action, okay? This beautiful model that works on paper, and get it to actually work in real life. Because the model on paper sounds good. We just got to make it work.
So for myself, because I do believe in the power of intent and doing treatments with intent, I spend a lot of time with my therapist to tap into that magic that I was talking about earlier. So I do training with my therapist every Friday, but we don't specifically work with product training. We talk about mindfulness, we work with energies, we work on each other, we spend a lot of time talking about consultations, because inevitably that's where the magic is also happening, actually really finding out what the outcome of the treatment must be for the guest on that particular day. And the way that I encourage and empower my therapists is that I allow them to use their own intuition during a treatment. So if you, with our spa menu, we've got 45, 60 and 90 minutes, and all of the treatments in them for specific time category costs exactly the same. So with my team, I allow them to create bespoke treatments with every single guest according to what they want the outcome of the treatment to be. So our spa menu is an indication of what we can do, but we encourage our guests upon booking that they must literally just allow us to do what we can do, because that's what we do very well. So when you come to us and you say, I'm here for a 60-minute massage today, and then we say, okay, well, what would you like the outcome to be? How would you like to feel afterwards? And in order to achieve that, we could either do scrubs, chakra balancing, CBD treatments, facials, massage, anything in that 60-minute in order to achieve your outcome. And the therapists absolutely thrive on that, because they are given the accountability, but they also then engage with the guests and are intentful when working, because once they become robotic and mechanical and protocol orientated, then that's when they start losing interest, and that's when you do have therapists that jump ship, because they get really, really bored. So yes, that's what I do.
So I believe that a therapist should never stop wanting to learn. You need to just want it so bad that you can't see yourself doing anything else. I mean, sure, I could switch industries and be like, let me be a PA or whatever the case may be. But I would still feel like a part of me would look at someone and be like, so what are you doing for your skin? That's because I don't see myself doing anything else, and the therapist just needs to want it just as bad. Because if you want something just as bad in terms of learning, it will fuel your passion. And when you're working from a place of passion, I truly believe that you want to better yourself even more. You don't want to remain stagnant in what you're doing, and you're always looking for the next thing to do in order to better.
All right, and then I'll just pose one last question to the set of panelists is, how does the South African ecosystem compare to the rest of the world?
I think we are in actually a really, really good spot. Just to give you an idea, I think I've traveled now 27 different countries. We work with about 48 different distributors. And it's quite interesting to see, especially in South Africa, I think we kind of have closed the gap a little bit, where we've given therapists the opportunity to now actually start working with a medical professional. So I think in a lot of other countries what has happened is the medical professional is still very separate from the therapist, where in South Africa we found that this two has actually now started coming together. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity because not only does it allow us as skin specialists to kind of stay in our lane, but it also allows the medical practitioner to stay in their lane and actually start taking hands and working together. So I understand from the spa perspective, salon, nails, etc., all of those, but I think what we need to remember is if we look at future predictions, they say that your medical aesthetic center or medi-spa or medi-clinic or whatever you want to call it is going to be the biggest part of our business. Yes, there will definitely still be a place for touch. Everybody needs that, everybody wants that. I think we need it now more than ever, but there is a huge gap that can be filled, and I think, this is where product houses can definitely make a huge impact, is to actually start bringing the two together and not treating them separately.
I think our industry is super complex. I think if you look at the workplace, a therapist is not just in a spa, a medi-spa, she's moved. She works in a retailer, she works in a salon, she works everywhere. And we have to work together as an industry. And for me, what was quite significant is when you asked how many salon owners are here today. I think we had 5 hands. So I want to invite us here today to engage with the owners. So as a product house, that's where my power lies, is to bring the business owners that we work with every single day to these events. That's where SAAHSP, we as an industry, every single professional, skincare therapist, the colleges we have, can make a difference in how we support skill set training. I work with therapists in a room, and the difference in their skill set is complex. So you have a therapist who only sells product. You've got a therapist who works in a medical aesthetic setting. You've got a therapist who works in a salon. And it is about meeting that person where they are at and making sure that the skill I give them allows them to go back into their business and deliver to a standard of service that is expected from the consumer, their clients. That's the outcome. And whether it's a brand training or a college training or SAAHSP, we've got to remember that. So my question to us all here is, how are we going to get these business owners onto these conferences so that we can show them what the industry and professional body is doing, what our colleges are doing, working very hard to create opportunities, but the people that can make the bigger impact and difference in those people's lives.
Thank you. It's what appeals to them, isn't it? It's the information that is put out there, and it's what appeals. Because remember, they are clients, okay? And how this information is disseminated is how it is packaged and how it is put out there. Because why do we choose something? We choose something because we like it. Alright? So that is step number 1. Number two, what does it cost? Okay, the next question that I've had and have been asked in the last couple of weeks is, can I get NASFAS for a beauty therapy qualification? And can you do my application for me? Oh no, I must do it myself. So those are the questions that we are being asked, and I'm talking about education and training out in the Sharpeville area of South Africa, and that is my experience that I have seen in our location.
Extremely well, but I excelled in the private beauty school. I think it comes down to two things, or maybe a little bit more: time and money for everyone. Whether that be a provider, whether that be a salon owner, whether that be a beauty therapist in the making, it will come down to how much time do they have for their training and how much money are they willing to spend. Whether it be a government institution or a private institution, we all have to comply to a certain standard. It doesn't matter where you come from as a provider, we have to still offer an accredited quality education to whoever decides to go into private or into the government institutions. So I think when it comes to a starting point, a student would ask how much time and how much money do I have and which institution is going to be the best match for that. And then after those questions are asked, it will probably come down to what would I get out of the education that I'm going to be investing in? Am I coming out there as a first year with a beauty specialist? Am I going to do iTech? Am I going to do Sedesco? Am I going to keep it on a national level? Am I going to go onto an international platform? And that's up to the provider, whatever the provider is offering that student. So if the student is wanting to do a full qualification, wants to take the long road, well, we say the long road, but it's maybe a thorough road, a lot of subjects, a lot of work, a higher level of exit, they would probably have to look at which provider is the best suited for that. Yes.
Introduce a regulated pricing in the training of beauty industry or beauty schools. Is the pricing, is the cost of this kind of training regulated in between schools or not really?
Hi, I'm Sandy Singh and I'm from the Beauty Specialist Academy. I am an accredited provider with the services SETA. I do a lot of rural development, so answering that question about pricing, it's not governed as such, but with the services SETA, there's a difference between a learnership and a skills program. Your learnership costing at the moment, I think it's just around 57,500. And then your skills program is about 8,400. But like I said, it varies. I did a project last year for the Office of the Premier, and that project was obviously different. So it depends what you put into your proposal. The government, with the services SETA, is regulated, but if you're putting through special projects, it's obviously what you put into your proposal and what's approved. And I think on private sector, I also offer private education. That's the discretion of the college, because they've got to take into account tuition, toolkits, and all of that. So really, it's not governed at a certain amount. Just
Sorry,
with
while
the
I have you,
services.
Sandy, if you can just tell us what can be done to capacitate the rural unemployment to effectively participate in the beauty industry.
Well, once again, it boils down to finances. And unfortunately, in rural development, the girls are challenged with finances. And definitely they look at the funding options. And I'm very big into empowerment and uplifting the community, especially the rural development, because I believe beauty and hairdressing is a skill that can actually make money. A mother can actually do a massage and make money for a loaf of bread for her kids. So impacting employment in South Africa, we really need more funding for rural development, because these girls are challenged with finances. So I think if all parties can come, to the party and let's work together to see what we can do.
Okay, so they get exploited, they don't get paid what they are worth. So what do? They jump ship to go to better pastures. So then they start their own businesses. Alright, because there's funding to start own businesses. But it's a hard road, it's not easy. Alright, and to tap into that funding, it's not easy. It's hard work. Students come back for extra training to us for entrepreneurships, to assist them and help them to build their businesses. So yes, the industry is shutting students and youngsters out. We as TVET are shut out. People do not want students to go to TVET colleges because we are substandard. We are not. That I can promise you. The only thing is, our students don't necessarily are taken into the college with certain subjects like maths and biology and science. We only take students with grade 12. So what we do is we need to work much harder than a lot of other institutions to get our students on the same level, and it takes hard work. Because if a student comes to us without any anatomy and physiology, we need to start teaching them from scratch to get them on the same level. So that student know how to work. That student know how to work this industry because they learn from the first year how to work. Alright. So I feel there's a lack of perseverance in the youngsters because the way we teach them, we want to teach them like previous years. Theory and it's boring. They are like the speaker, I think Dr. Person spoke about yesterday, or I'm not sure if it's Dr. Shirley, about students are more into 4IR. So if you don't make it interesting with regards to technology, students are not going to listen to you. They are into technology. So use technology when you train them, and they will be interested. Even in the salons, change your old ways to the new. Just a few government entities that you can tap in. I know there's people that in government, like I think our Honourable MEC Khadija Brown also said, there's a lot of, if you are in contact with your province's MEC, they will be able to assist you to get to the correct entities, to tap into funding for startup. They, I know they are where they pay for machines and they even assist you with your business plan and really get your business up and running.
It's important that we have quite a huge number of students who are waiting to be offered employment. I think it's important as a salon owner or spa owner to also collaborate with the education sector, because we do have a pool and a number of students, but we don't know where to send them. Because we also have spas and salons where students are going, where the monitoring of the safety and protocols, and I'm very glad that you're actually sitting in this, and the sort of a standard that is being put out there, because there's some salons who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Who clients are going there, they're using salt on their skin, for example, as an exfoliator, just because they can and it's cheaper. And we send these students to these places to go work, and they come back and they give us this feedback. So I think it's important to collaborate with the universities or the TVETs and the colleges, because there is a platform for that and there's an opening for that. So collaboration is key. The other point that I want to just highlight is that the work that we do is very skills based. So, but there are not publications that we're putting out there for any of the work that we do. We're not publicating and we're not publishing the work that we are doing, but yet we are in our own corners behind closed doors doing all of these things, and we saying that it works, but we're not putting it out there for the world to see and understand all the work that we are doing. So I think it's important that collaboration is key. We've highlighted this point, and I want to drive it home today, that it's key that we sit together and we work together and we stop working in silos, because we are not going to win this battle and this discussion if we are all sitting in our corners and doing what we think, because that is not going to be brought out. It's not going to be conducive to the rest of the people.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm not
put in the levels what needs to be done. The therapist knows if I want to earn on that level, I need to progress in education as well to get there. Yeah, that's just me, and really this is something that I realized if it was about me, I would have said this is what we need to do. But someone this morning mentioned that the finance and the professional bodies of finance is regulated and people need to belong. I would love to see, before I leave the industry, that our profession is regulated so that everybody has to belong to the professional bodies, so that we can set the standards there, that there are levels of qualification, that there are levels of work, and that the masses out there gets trained, and that they also fall into those levels, so that they can climb the ladder and also one day work from therapist and become the CEO of their own company. Please don't let us train our therapists to be jack of all trades and masters of none. Thank you.
Why do you deny yourself heaven? Why do you consider yourself undeserving?